Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee. Welcome, Congressman. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me on, ma'am.
We have some new reporting tonight that Speaker McCarthy laid out for you and other members in a meeting tonight, a plan that would keep the government open for 30 days and would do that at levels of $1.47 trillion of spending. It also adds a commission to address the debt and border security in that package. My question to you is, are you on board with this plan?
No, ma'am, I'm not currently. The package as you described, I mean, we take in around $5 trillion a year, and conservative estimates say we're probably going to spend $7 trillion a year. We just passed $33 trillion in debt. And these commissions, they don't have any legislative ability. And if we give them that, are we violating the Constitution by giving somebody authority over ourselves? We've had these bipartisan blue ribbon committees in the past, ma'am. Elections have consequences, and my folks back home are saying, quit spending this much money. And, you know, a continued resolution is just that. It's a 30-day fix. And how in the world do the 50 states manage? They pass a budget. I'm sure your family has a budget. My family has a budget. Church or synagogue has a budget. Every charity in the country has a budget, except the United States government. Ma'am, we haven't passed a budget since the 70s. Since the 70s. Now, Jody Arrington, God bless him, from Texas, chairman of the Budget Committee, I used to serve on it. I asked to come off of it because they didn't do anything, has now formulated a budget that we can balance our budget and within 10 years. Now, if you do the math, within 8 years, if we continue down this path, the single largest item in our budget will be interest. This is non-sustainable. This country will collapse.
I'm hearing you say you right now are a no on what Speaker McCarthy is proposing that will come to a vote this week.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you support any continuing resolution, a short-term continuing resolution, no matter what is in it?
Well, never say never, ma'am, but the way you get somebody off of heroin is not giving them more heroin. And the way you get people, this country, off these so-called continued resolutions is quit passing these dadgum continued resolutions. Let's be adults. Let's get in the room. Let's figure out what's important and quit with the giveaway programs. You know, we give $114 unchecked billion to Ukraine, yet the poor people in Maui are suffering. The people in Pennsylvania with the chemical spill. You know, every time there's a national catastrophe, we seem to be able to find the money for somebody overseas, but yet our own people are suffering. And we can't look at the UAW up there that we gave the automakers huge amounts of money to develop these basically non-existent electric vehicles. And yet, by doing that, we deflated the economy. We caused inflation. Now the auto workers can't survive on the amount of money that they're making.
So how many others are there like you who are a no right now in your conference?
There are 7 locked in concrete. I would say there's probably 4 others that are pretty close, and there's a couple of other wild cards out there, and it only takes 3.
So when Matt Gaetz, your colleague, says that there are 7, he said that today, that there are 7 who would vote no matter what. He's correct in that. And does he speak for you? Are you a part of the 7?
Well, nobody speaks for me, ma'am, but yes, ma'am, if you were to count the 7, I am one of those, and Matt is correct.
And you are saying that there are at least 3 more who are also unlikely to agree to this package.
And there's a couple, excuse me, ma'am, and there's a couple more that, due to whatever reason, don't want their name out. And I understand that because you end up taking a lot of abuse and name calling. And it's, and the reality, ma'am, we've known this date, September 30th. I mean, it comes around every year. Yet, what did we do with the month of August? We went home, we worked from home. We did constituent service back home. I probably work harder at home than I do here, but still, we spent the whole month of August at home. We come back in. We said, we'll never do this. We're not going to be like the Democrats. And yet here we are. And here's what will happen. We'll pass a continued resolution. We'll come back in 30 days, pass another continued resolution. And then we'll try to pass what's called an omnibus. And this is what gets us in $33 trillion in debt, ma'am. We pass these huge packages Like Nancy Pelosi said, we got to pass it so we know what's in it. You read down until you find what's in your district, and then you vote for the bill.
Well, look,
that's why we're $32 trillion in the hole.
I hear what you're saying. I mean, Congress did go away for 6 weeks and wait until the last second to deal with this issue. But, Congressman, I am wondering about the votes. You're saying this is going to go the way all these other things have gone. You're going to pass a continuing resolution. Where are those votes going to come from? And if Speaker McCarthy has to reach across the aisle to Democrats in order to get the votes to fund the government, would you try to move to vacate him from the speakership?
I haven't really put much thought into that, ma'am. I'm more worried about the collapse of our country and our monetary system. But that is a viable option. That is very much a viable option. And there's a lot of people talking about it.
So would you, at this moment, if you're a no, there could very well be no deal on this proposal. We're getting closer and closer to a government shutdown. Are you willing to allow a government shutdown to get what you're demanding?
Ma'am, a government shutdown is the worst thing possible. It is a complete, we've capitulated on our duties, which we have, which this Congress has, which this government has done ever since I've been here 5 years. And every year we've done the same thing, Democrats or Republicans. We're finally just found enough people with backbone to say enough is enough. We're not going to spend this much money. We're gonna pass a budget like all the states do.
So that's a yes on a government shutdown.
If it happens, it happens. So it doesn't have to happen. Leadership can come to us with a conservative budget. We can pass Jody Arrington's budget, which he's worked very hard to do, but because of egos and other things, we're not going to. They'll pat him on the head and tell him he did a great job and give him his 10 minutes in conference to explain it. But it goes against the status quo. It's about staying in power, and that's what both parties do, ma'am. And they sell us, the Democrats, they spend all this money on these woke programs. And what do? We spend all this money on missile defense programs, and both parties own stock in it. It just never ends, ma'am. Eventually, somebody's got to say enough is enough, and we've got to say, they sent us here to Washington to do a dadgum job. Let's do it. Let's balance this budget. The one thing we're required to do is to pass a budget. Yet for 30 years we have thrown that duty away, and the American public knows it, and they're tired of it.
On that, I think everyone agrees. It is Congress's responsibility to get this stuff done. Congressman Tim Burchett, some news there that you are one of what you're saying 7 holdouts who are a no tonight on this new proposal from Speaker McCarthy. Thanks for joining us tonight on all of that.
Thank you, ma'am.